the court on the way forward on how this case ought to be managed. We will be giving you details about the key highlights of that particular forum, and of course also matters that have been shaping conversation in the country, courtesy of what emanated yesterday at the Madaraka Day celebrations. We got those and other details contained in our comprehensive news bulletin that begins right now. My name is Serfine Achieng Ouma, and our sign language interpreter is Anne Wangeshi. Engage us on social media at KBC Channel 1 and at Serfine_Achieng on Twitter. On Facebook, you can communicate with me directly at Serfine Achieng. Now let's begin straight away with one of the issues that really stand out for us today. A section of the clergy wants the executive to tone down attacks on the independence of the judiciary in an apparent reference to remarks made by President Uhuru Kenyatta Tuesday during the Madaraka Day celebrations in Kisumu. The Church and Clergy Association of Kenya has called on the judiciary to resist undue influence in discharging their duties. The association also wants the BBI process and the impending referendum shelved until after 2022 general elections. That report begins our bulletin.
They rule any case according to the law and according to the merit of the case presented to them. We are advocating for completely obedience and respect of judiciary, and we expect the new CJ will not let down Kenyans on that. The issue of referendum and the constitutional amendment should be pushed until after the next general election. However, Parliament should focus on amendments that will help the IBC run a smooth and a clear general election.
All right, and now on to the case management conference on the BBI initiative that took place today. We are now joined live by Serfine Robi just to give us details about the directions issued by the court. Quite a number of issues emanated from the corridors of justice. Serfine Robi, I understand right now we have a date. The hearing has been set for the 29th and 30th of June by a 7-judge bench, among other directions issued by the court. Just kindly, if you can hear me, just kindly bring us up to speed with the way forward on the BBI case. All right, we will be linking up with Serfine Robi in just a bit to understand more details about the directions that were issued by the court this particular morning. And of course, just I understand we have her. Just let's listen to what Serfine has for us. Serfine, very good afternoon. It has been a very busy day for you. Just kindly bring us up to speed with what the court has said in regards to the direction on the BBI appeal case. What is it that we should anticipate? I understand we have a date concerning when the hearing ought to take place.
Indeed, a very good afternoon, Serfine. We're coming to you live from the Supreme Court of Kenya, whereby we have just concluded, or just from a sitting, a case management conference that was being presided over by a 3-judge bench that included the President of the Court of Appeal, Justice Musinga, as well as the other 2 judges of the Court of Appeal, who were Justice Okwengu and Justice Naboye, who were presiding over the case management conference of the Building Bridges Initiative contest that was scheduled to take place today, whereby a number of issues have been deliberated on since morning, and a number of directions have been issued as we are speaking right now. Some of the directions that have been given include an application that had been made by the Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commission, whereby they have been given, or they have been granted interim stay orders of a ruling or of of judgment that had been given by the High Court, extending, given that the orders that they had been given by the High Court had lapsed. Therefore, they were seeking an extension of the same orders, whereby the Court of Appeal has given orders saying that the Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commission can go on with its statutory and administrative duties, excluding other issues such as the referendum, the BBI referendum, or matters concerning the Building Bridges initiative. Other orders that have been given in the case management conference that has just concluded include matters whereby applications had been filed by the other parties, who included President Uhuru Kenyatta, former Prime Minister Raila Odinga, as well as the Office of the Attorney General and the Building Bridges Initiative Secretariat. These are some of the parties that had filed actual appeals. As we were coming for the sitting this morning, it's only the Independent Election and Boundaries Commission that hadn't filed an actual appeal. Well, the others who had earlier on filed applications of a stay of the orders, now the court has directed or has ordered that all the applications of stay filed by the other appellants have been withdrawn, and also the appeals that have been, the actual appeals that have been filed by the four, will be consolidated and will be heard on priority basis. Further directions also were given, which included that all appellants to file their submissions within 7 days, and all the respondents also have been ordered or directed to file their submissions within 14 days of receiving submissions from the appellants. And also the court directed that the number or the limit of the submissions should be 40 pages, and also the submissions that will be done during the hearing have been limited to 2 hours for the appellants and also for the respondents. Now, the hearing of the matter will commence on the 29th of June, and it will be presided over by a 7-judge bench, and also the venue for the hearing will be agreed upon, which will be physical. It will be an open court, and the matter will begin on the 29th of June, and also 4 days have been given for the hearing. Well, as we're speaking this, also I can mention that the court put it out that also the 4 appeals that had been filed, the 4 actual appeals that have been filed by President Uhuru Kenyatta, the former Prime Minister Raila Odinga, the Office of the Attorney General and the BBI Secretariat have been consolidated, and therefore the hearing will commence on the 29th of June. Back to you, Serfine.
Thank you so much, Serfine Robi, for highlighting and really explaining that particular way forward that was issued by the court this particular morning concerning the case that touched on the BBI initiative. Serfine, they are telling us that the 4 action appeals that had been filed by former Prime Minister Raila Odinga, President Uhuru Kenyatta, the Attorney General and the BBI Secretariat have been consolidated and shall also be heard in a priority basis. And of course, just telling us that the hearing date has already been set. It will commence on the 29th to the 30th of June and will be, presided over by a 7-judge bench. We will be getting more details about this particular direction that was issued by the court in the course of the day in our subsequent news bulletin. Serfine Robi is on top of things there for us. Now, moving on, police in ISIOLO County have launched a manhunt for suspected cattle rustlers believed to be from Samburu East, who shot and killed 3 herders and left 1 person injured at the Kamanga area that borders Isiolo and Samburu counties. The bandits made away with at least 800 goats, with local leaders and herders calling on the intervention from the government to prevent further loss of life.
The fresh cattle rustling incident believed to have been orchestrated by bandits from Samburu East left 3 people dead, 1 person injured and at least 800 goats stolen from a local community herding at the Kamanga area along the border of Isiolo and Samburu counties. Elders from Isiolo now calling on a thorough operation to retrieve their stolen animals.
Saa hii tukiongea hiyo mbuzi ajaenda mali. alifuka na kamanga.
The elders further decried double standards from the government after their herders agreed to the ceasefire and armed surrender appeal, but their neighbors did not heed to the same calls.
Tumeshinda kulisha watoto wetu yote ni yatima, wazee wetu yote ni yatima. Sisi ni wakarimu, tumeenda kuregister bunduki pamoja na ile KBR tulikuwa nao. Tunaambiwa hiyo bunduki inachekwa irudishwe, tulirudishwa, iliwekwa kwa amra. Sisi tulibaki mkono hivi na wengine walibaki na bunduki. Hiyo bunduki ndo wanamaliza sisi, hiyo ndo inafanya mali yetu ziende karibu kila siku.
ISIOLO County Police Commander Joseph Keegan, who is leading the operation to recover the stolen animals, while on phone said no stone will be left unturned in the efforts to bring the perpetrators to book. The dead were buried at the Kambigarba Muslim Cemetery amidst calls on the government to confiscate all illegal firearms in the hands of civilians in order to stop unnecessary loss of lives and property among the pastoralists in the region. Yusuf Far, Channel 1 News.
Thank you, Yusuf, for that report. Now, moving on, threats from marauding elephants have adversely affected learning at Irkulunyeti Primary School in Murueshi, Kajiado East Sub-County. Pupils are forced to report to school at 9 a.m. and leave by 3 p.m. The residents in the area are lamenting that their children get to school late, and this is affecting their performance. Beatrice Gatonye-Ngetich brings us more details.
According to parents and teachers, roaming wild animals, especially elephants and hyenas, have affected education in the area as pupils strive to strike a balance between education and safety.
Mambo ya wanyama sasa tutaweza kuwa aidha marafiki ama tutajua namna ya kuishi na wao, kwa sababu shule yetu imepakana kabisa na pori, na ikipakana na pori basi tunanyang'anyana vitu nyingi. Maana watoto wetu wanaenda kwa mito, wamama wanaenda kwa mito, ng'ombe wetu wanakunywea hapo, wakati mwingine wanakuja na wanaziba yale visima vya maji.
Teachers say before an electric fence was put up by a non-governmental organization recently, hyenas, zebras and giraffes would sometimes interrupt class sessions.
Wanyamapori walikuwa wanawatatiza wanafunzi kufika shuleni na kwa wakati ufaao na kufanya kazi zao darasani. Hivyo basi suluhisho hilo limepatikana kwa wakati mwafaka, na tutajua ya kwamba itakuwa fursa mzuri kwa wanafunzi kuendeleza kazi zao shuleni.
They say at times pupils would find wild animals in the school compound, paralyzing classes for the better part of the day.
Hiyo conflict ya wanyama na watoto wa shule imeleta shida sana. Hata performance ya shule inaleta chini, kwa sababu zile muda za ziada za zile masomo ambayo walimu wanaweza somesha watoto hawapati. Juu hawezi kuja hapa asubuhi, hawezi kaa mpaka jioni juu hizo wanyama.
Ndovu wanasimama njiani. Sasa tuko na shida mingi sana. Kuna watoto wamefunjika wakikimbia. Tuko na shida sana ya wanyama.
The school management called on Kenya Wildlife Services to intensify patrols within the area to secure the learners. The school borders Tsavo National Reserve to the east and Nasaru Olosho Conservancy to the west. Beatrice Gatonye-Ngetich, Channel 1 News.
Thank you so much, Gatonye, for that report. We are going to be taking a very short break right here on KBC Lunchtime News. In the meantime, interact with us on our website, www.kbc.co.ke. We got this and other stories posted there and interesting content that will be of use for you. We will be back with more news. Stay with us.
Kupata skiza tune hii, Ufunuo wa Yohana 38 dial *811 *817#.
Wakati mwingi katika maisha binadamu hujipata kwa shida, unapata ya kwamba hauna usaidizi unaohitaji, biashara zinaisha, hakuna mapato ya kila siku. Lakini hata kwa hayo yote, Biblia inasema ya kwamba katika kitabu cha Ufunuo wa Yohana mlango wa 3 mstari wa 8, na yajua matendo yako. Tazama, nimekupa mlango uliofunguliwa mbele yako.
Ili kupata skiza tune hiyo ya Yohana 38 dial star 811 star 817 hash. Dial star 811 star 817 hash.
Next on.
Sasa poa sana. Umekaa muda bila kuja hapa. Si unajua last time nilitengeneza nywele vibaya sana. Na vile tumetengeneza vizuri.
Kwani siku hizi ni pesa una ama nini? Tangu nikushuke.
Chau.
Pesa ama shughuli.
Pita napiga. Ngoja kwanza niongee.
Na haraka kidogo tafadhali.
Una haraka?
Unaenda wapi?
Useme wewe ni nini unafanya pesa yako wewe? Nini? Wewe lama. Na bado unaendelea kucheka. Ni nini? Mse unafanya nika umetoka kunyolewa na kiposho mil mse. Acha mchana.
Huo ni ungwana.
Welcome back, and now I take you to Samburu County. A man has been arraigned before a Maralal court in Samburu to answer charges of making a false Kenya Defence Forces document with an intent to deceive or defraud. Appearing before Senior Principal Magistrate John Tamar, the accused, Vincent Leshan, pleaded not guilty to the charges that on 18th March 2013 made a Kenyan Defence Force certificate of appointment purporting to be genuine certificate issued by Kenya Defence Forces. He also pleaded not guilty to the offence of personating a public officer, where he falsely presented himself to Baragoi Police Station OCS Chief Inspector Wilfred Makori on 23rd May 2021 as a person employed by KDF. The court directed that the accused be remanded at Maralal GK prison for a period of 14 days until 14th June 2021. Now moving on, more than 300 traders who conduct their businesses at the NGINA waterfront claim that the continued closure of the 460 million facility has adversely affected their livelihoods. The recreational facility was closed about 2 months ago due to COVID-19 pandemic as a way of controlling the spread of the third wave of the deadly virus.
The National Youth Service officers continue to man the barrier in and out of the NGINA waterfront that remains closed to the public. Traders who used to eke a living from the waterfront staged a demonstration outside the guarded facility, citing the hard economic times they are going through after their only source of income was cut short.
Tangu corona haijaisha sina amani mimi. Sina amani hata siku moja. Kwa sababu kile nikikaa mimi ndo mama tena ndo baba. Alafu tunateseka na dewa rent. Nyumba yake kuna dewa rent kabla corona ianze. Hakuna kitu kinisaidia mimi, kuna watoto watatu. Nafukuza NGINA na boroza huku na huku kisa na maana kutafuta wanangu.
Hapa NGINA ndio kila kitu chetu. Hapa tuaja ili tupate kuendeleza maisha yetu. Kama imefungwa kama hivi, tafadhali tunapata tabu. Imagine sahi nimetoka kule nyumbani sijui naenda wapi. Huku kumefungwa. Nikirudi pale watoto wananiuliza baba vipi? Mtoto analala na kikombe ya chai rangi.
They are now calling on President Uhuru Kenyatta and Tourism Cabinet Secretary Najib Balala to reconsider reopening of the recreational facility for public use.
Nalilia Uhuru nisaidie tufungulie watoto wapate kula sisi.
Tafadhali naomba Mheshimiwa Waziri wa Nyama Pori, tafadhali tufungulie hii sehemu na sisi tupate riziki za kuendeleza maisha yetu.
The traders representative Simon Mariga questioned the criteria which has been used to allow a section of business owners to go back to the park while about 300 small traders have been barred.
Sisi tunalia kwa rais. Wale wakilishi ambao wameweka hapa ni kama wametusahau. Golf club iko hapa ndani. Kuna bar, kuna hoteli pale ndani Florida ambayo ina operate mpaka sasa, utakuta gari zimejaa pale, watu wako ndani. Lakini sisi ambao ni wafanyikazi wa pale tumekaa hapa miaka nyingi. Tunatolewa tu juu, hakuna mtu wa kutuangalia, hata tukirudi tena ni impromptu, unatolewa leo unapatiwa, hakuna notice.
For Channel 1 Lunchtime News from Mombasa County, I am Anburu.
And the government is threatening to institute legal action against non-governmental organizations operating in the northeastern region without valid documents. Northeastern head of NGOs Coordination Board, Joseph Mutemi, said operations of all non-governmental organizations are guided by law and none will be allowed to operate as if Kenya was a jungle.
Mutemi was speaking in Garissa after handing over a certificate of incorporation to a newly registered NGO, Vision Together Foundation, warned that the government will monitor all charitable organizations in the area to ensure they adhere to the rules of the country. Mutemi called on other community-based organizations and women groups willing to register as NGOs to come forward and apply for incorporations, noting that the board was ready to assist where required.
We as the NGOs Coordination Board, we register, coordinate the NGOs operating in Kenya. NGOs come to register in our office regardless of where they will be operating. So long as they come with their documents, we register them. We have no problem. Wale NGOs wengine, especially the CBOs, you come to our place, you upgrade from CBO to an NGO. We are ready to assist you.
Vision Together Foundation Secretary Patrick Mwendwa said that his organization has already identified over 13,000 children in different counties who will benefit for scholarship.
Pande ya Kitui County tushaanza kusaidia watoto. Tumeshukua watoto tayari. Watoto tayari tuko na 13,000 ambao tumeshukua na tayari tumeanza kusaidia. We are so glad to receive our certificate today. Our main theme or agenda is to stand and also help the needy within those counties, mostly focusing on the basic needs, that is shelter, food, and also education. We also stand to advocate for the needy children.
Some good news here. At least 10,000 learners from THIKA town constituency in Kiambu County have benefited from bursaries worth 27 million shillings from the local CDF kitty. Area Member of Parliament Patrick Wainaina, while issuing the checks to the beneficiaries, claimed that the area has been receiving meager funding from the government compared to other constituencies with high population. Beneficiaries in the bursary program say that the COVID-19 pandemic has affected their livelihood and earnings.
The 3,000 would have increased to about 6,000. Today, as I speak, I know there are some constituencies that are doing 50,000 per student, 100,000 per student.
Sana sababu mimi ni biashara, nilikuwa nauza green grocer. Tumeteseka sana kabisa, ila mtu anasemanga tumeteseka sana sababu unakaa uone customer, unakaa na unataka kufanyia kitu, unataka kufanyia mtoto kitu.
Leo hii nafurahia kwa vile nimepata basari, na ningependa wakati huu mtoto wangu atafaidika kusoma, asome, asipate zile changamoto ambazo nimeface.
Nambale Member of Parliament John Bunyasi has faulted the recent development tour in Nyanza region by President Uhuru Kenyatta. According to the lawmaker, the development agenda should not be selective and focused on what he termed as political boundary.
Speaking in Nambale during the commissioning of a new laboratory in Mabunge Secondary School, Bunyasi claimed that Kisumu County was a blue-eyed boy on the government development agenda, saying the same gesture should be extended to its neighbors. He stated that the Western region was still struggling in matters development, which should be addressed urgently and conclusively.
Development must be for every region and every republic of this country. We are still struggling in this region. This country must develop for the benefit of the people, not for the convenience of leaderships, present or future.
Elsewhere, two legislators from cane-growing regions, that is Lugari's Ayub Savuli and his Navakolo counterpart Emmanuel Wangwe, now want the government to urgently come to the aid of the ailing sugar sector.
Kupata permit kutoka West Kenya, lazima ulipe 2,000 mama ndio upewe permit. Miwa ya mama inalala kwa shamba, inakauka. Tukiamusha Mumias, wakulima wetu watakuwa wanapeleka miwa na wanalipwa after 2 days, which is better.
There are those private investors ambao wanataka kuweka kwa machine ya Mumias. Aangalie hao watu haraka. Sisi huku kwetu tunasema shetani ambaye unamjua na anakulindia boma ni afadhali kuliko malaika ambaye unaambiwa atakuja wewe ukishakufa.
Nancy Okware, Channel 1 News.
Now on to matters environmental conservation, I beg your pardon. Chief Administrative Secretary for Transport and Infrastructure, Chris Obure, has urged Kisii residents to up their game in tree planting with a view of meeting government set afforestation targets. While presiding over a tree planting exercise in Nyamache sub-county, Obure stated that afforestation would provide indirect employment in the county. The CAS further stated that his ministry's agenda is to implement 500,000 affordable housing units program. Kisii Deputy County Commissioner Muthike Nambuki asked residents to keep records of trees planted.
Nimetambua umuhimu wa mazingira na umuhimu wa kuyalinda hayo mazingira yetu, na wote nchi zote zimekubaliana kuongeza upanzi wa miti na kulinda misitu. Kuna ile key tunaita top agenda 4. Moja yao ni kujenga nyumba jumla ya 500,000 nyumba, 500,000 housing units, ili wale wananchi wa kawaida ambao hawawezi kujijengea nyumba zao binafsi. Na hiyo inawezekana tu ikiwa misitu yetu hapa Kenya itatoa mbao za kutosha ili tuweze kuendelea na huo mpango.
Now it's time for us to cross the borders, and we take you to the United States. United States President Joe Biden's administration will suspend oil and gas leases in Alaska's Arctic National Wildlife Refuge pending an environmental review. The move reverses former President Donald Trump's decision to sell oil leases in the refuge to expand fossil fuel and mineral development. The giant Alaskan wilderness is home to many important species, including polar bears, caribou and wolves.
In January, Trump pushed ahead with the sale for the rights to drill for oil on around 5% of the refuge just days before his presidential term ended. Covering some 19 million acres, the Arctic National Wildlife Refuge is often described as America's last great wilderness. The Biden administration's move was criticized in a joint statement by Republican Senators Dan Sullivan and Lisa Murkowski, along with Representative Don Young and Governor Mike Dunleavy. They said the action served no purpose other than to obstruct Alaska's economy and put other countries' energy security at risk. Dunleavy added that the leases sold by the Trump administrations are valid and cannot be taken away by the federal government. The first sale of the part of the refuge received little interest from the oil and gas industry and generated high bids of around $14 million. Elsewhere, Mali's transitional president Colonel Assimi Goïta has named Choguel Kakala Maïga as a new prime minister. Maïga is the leader of the 5th June Rally of Patriots movement, which took part in the overthrowing of former President Ibrahim Boubacar Keïta last year. The former Prime Minister Mokhtar Owan and former Transitional President Bahndo, who are accused of violating the transitional agreement, resigned last week after another coup. Finally, Nigerian President Muhammad Buhari has warned that his government will not tolerate any action promoting insurrection in the country. In a major reaction to the rising wave of government attacks in the southeastern part of the country, President Buhari vowed to shock those working to destroy the system.
Je, umeomoka? Kama hujaomoka kwenye QuickBin ndio mambo yote. Hapa tuko na fridge, kodi yake ni CM. Tuko na gas cooker, kodi yake ni CK. Tuko na TV, kodi yake ni TV. Tuko na simu aina ya Samsung ni SM, ama Oppo ni Oppo. My friend, mahali popote unanitizama, eka hizo kodi zake kisha utume kwa 4032353. 4032353, alafu utakuwa unaomoka na hizi bidhaa. Kumbuka, kwenye QuickBin ni bidhaa bora zaidi kwa bei ya chini.
The greatest rally in the world is back in Kenya. Catch all the action of WRC Safari Rally live and exclusive on KBC Channel 1 from 24th to 27th June. See the world's best drivers navigate their machines on Kenya's rough terrain at breakneck speeds. Experience the thrills, adrenaline, drama and excitement as man and machine do battle. Don't miss out. WRC Safari Rally, live and exclusive on KBC Channel 1.
Tonight on KBC Channel 1.
If your daughter won't cooperate, then you're being useless. So you do what you have to do, but I want her to have enough nutrition and to get stronger. Is that clear?
If you had told me that you already had a partner, everything about us would have been completely different, Dad.
Believe me, I had tried. Honestly.
Look, Uncle, the sad thing is, well, your son is a criminal and he must pay for what he did. I couldn't believe he came to rob us. You know what I mean. He took advantage of our trust in you, so he deserves it.
I'm going to see a lawyer, Maya. After that terrible thing that you did,
You have said
I'm going to
enough.
sue for custody. And I won't give her to you ever again. And you're not sending her to America. You hear me?
Tonight on KBC Channel 1.
We not the Congo long, just like the Amazon. Split big like a cylinder, man on beat like God.
That's my word. Time for we do it now. I hope you heard, girl.
I found true love, and it feels like freedom. Oh my God.
I'll give you all you want. Don't even have to ask. What will you give me in return?
Give you all my love, my love, my love, my love, my love, my love. Give you.
Welcome back and thank you for staying with us. We now focus on matters business. The cost of goods and services increased in May, driven majorly by a spike in costs of transport, food and non-alcoholic beverages. Data from the Kenya National Bureau of Statistics shows inflation increased from 5.76% in April to 5.87% in May 2021, but well within policy target. Food products, which carry the largest weight in the inflation basket at 32.2%, rose 0.32% from April.
Index increased by 0.69% after a 2.87% rise in petrol pump prices on May 14th. Manufacturers pushed the cost to the end users, with the food index increasing by 0.32%. The cost of food and non-alcoholic beverages rose by 1.26% month-on-month and 7.3% year-on-year. A kilogram of cabbage recorded the highest increase in price, retailing 7.3% higher than its April 2021 price. Sukuma wiki and onions also registered price increments at 6.5% and 5% respectively. On the other hand, the cost of electricity, water and charcoal dropped. A kilogram of charcoal decreased by 2.9% to retail at 58 shillings. Homes consuming 50 kilowatt hours paid 837 shillings last month, a 2.47% drop from April, according to the Statistics Agency. Those that used 200 kilowatt hours paid 4,752 shillings, a 1.7% drop.
All right, moving on, Kenya electricity generating company KenGen has started drilling the first geothermal well for Ethiopia Electric Power Company, setting in motion phase 2 of 7.6 billion shillings contract. KenGen Managing Director Rebecca Miano said that the exercise that started last week saw the drilling of the first hole to 29 meters within 8 hours.
The move by KenGen to commence phase 2 of the project follows completion of phase 1 of the contract by the consortium partners, under which 2 rigs were delivered to a Luto site in Ethiopia. The first phase entailed a purchase of drilling rigs, while phase 2 entails provision of drilling services. KenGen says it is now supplying about 30% of the component of phase 2, which translates to about 620 million shillings. Under the World Bank Finance project, a total of 8 wells will be drilled in Lot 1, using 2 rigs with an expected revenue of 620 million shillings. Each rig is expected to drill 4 wells within a period of 1 year. Depending on the outcome of Lot 1 wells, an additional 12 wells may be drilled under Lot 2, bringing the total to 20 wells. In October 2019, KenGen signed a contract with Tulumoye to drill 12 geothermal wells and also supply, install, operationalize and maintain water supply system for the project. Besides Ethiopia, KenGen has also secured a 709 million shillings contract to offer commercial drilling services in Djibouti. Alan Auko, Channel 1 Business.
Thank you, Alan, for that report. Now on to matters Mira Trade. Mira traders have appealed to the government to scout for new export markets for their produce. The farmers say they are incurring huge losses following the ban on Kenyan Mira by the United Kingdom, the Netherlands and the Republic of Somalia. Have a look.
The traders say they used to export 50 tons of cart to Somalia daily, raking in more than 180 million shillings from Somalia. In June 2014, the United Kingdom, home to one of cart's biggest markets, declared the stimulant a Class C drug and banned all imports, plunging Mira farmers into huge losses. The Netherlands in 2016 had banned the imports of the produce, citing health concerns. Mira traders from Nyambene region in Meru want the national and county government to search for new buyers for Mira following the diplomatic tiff between Somalia and Kenya.
Naomba tu kwa CS wetu wa agriculture Peter Munya aweze kutuangalilia soko la miraa hata nchini Kongo. Kuna watu wanahitaji miraa Kongo, kuna watu wanahitaji miraa Mozambique, kuna watu wanahitaji miraa nchi jirani hapa ya Somalia.
The farmers say they have suffered extreme losses following the ban of miraa in London, Netherlands and Somalia. The farmers are calling on the Agriculture Ministry to form a miraa board that would spearhead talks that would push for the reopening of miraa markets.
Waziri wetu wa kilimo Bwana Munya, bile unafanya KTNDA ndio wakulima wa mayani wafaindike, fanya pia kwa sisi watu ya miraa tuweze kufaindika na haya marekebisho yote ambayo unafanya. Tutekeleze bodi ya miraa
ambayo itakuwa inashughulikia tu mambo ya miraa.
Kwa sasa watu wako na depression, wale watu walikuwa wamechukua loan, wanafanya biashara, sasa hivi wanaanza kuchukuliwa manyumba zao zinaanza kuuzwa, ng'ombe zao zimeanza kuuzwa. Kwa sasa ningeomba tu serikali yetu tukufu iweze kuangalia hii maneno na hii biashara yetu ya miraa, hasa kwa sababu ni kitu ambayo ilikuwa inaleta pesa nyingi kwa nchi yetu ya Kenya.
Miraa traders from the region last month lost more than 5 million shillings after the Somali Civil Aviation Authority warned that the hub remains illegal in the country. Excited by the latest restoration of diplomatic relations between Kenya and Somalia, the traders had ordered about 12 tons of miraa destined for Somalia via Jomo Kenyatta International Airport. However, a letter addressed to cargo operators said the federal government of Somalia's policy on transportation of miraa to the country's airports had not changed.
All right, that report will now help us cross the borders. But very quickly, Evans Oro, watching from Mombasa, we appreciate you. Joyrine Lusaka from Uasin Gishu County, thank you for creating time. Amos Ngetich, Joseph Nyakundi, Matingai, you say you're tuned. We appreciate you creating time for us. Thank you. And all of you who are also watching on offline, not online. Thank you so much. Now, I want us to cross the borders internationally on matters business. Australia's economy continues its rapid rebound, growing faster than the pre-COVID-19 pandemic. Official figures show that gross domestic product rose by 1.8% in the first quarter, beating expectations. Details of this and other stories in our business roundup.
Growth was spurred by a soaring demand for commodities around the world and spending by consumers and businesses. Last year, Australia was steeped into recession after lockdown measures were imposed across the country. Rising household spending, investment by businesses, and higher prices of iron ore and gas exports helped drive the expansion. Yesterday, Australia's central bank held interest rates at record lows and signaled that it will keep borrowing costs down to help spur the country's economic recovery. Elsewhere, Chinese Vice Premier Liu He exchanged views with U.S. Treasury Secretary Janet Yellen in his second virtual call in a week with top economic and trade officials. In Liu's video call with Yellen today, both sides conducted extensive exchanges on the macroeconomic situation and bilateral and multilateral cooperation and exchanged views on issues of mutual concern, expressing willingness to maintain communication. Finally, Zoom sales have more than doubled after a very strong start to the year as the COVID-19 pandemic continued. The video calls platform has had a boom in users during the crisis as many employees work from home. Its profits also reached more than $227 million, up from about $27 million in the first quarter of 2020. But analysts previously said the firm could face a battle to remain relevant as more people get vaccinated and social distancing restrictions eased. Zoom said that in the 3 months from February, its revenues rose to $956 million from $328 million a year earlier. The pandemic, which prompted an abrupt shift to remote work for many businesses around the world, transformed Zoom into a household name practically overnight. And in a bid to stay relevant as offices reopen, it is set to launch Zoom events aimed at business hosting events that mix online and in-person elements.
On matters sports, reigning world under-20 cross-country champion Beatrice Chebet followed up her Doha Diamond League win last Friday with a burst of pace in the final 200-meter to win the women's 5,000-meter at the meeting International du Montreuil in France in a meeting record of 14 minutes, 52.06 seconds.
Made her intentions clear from the onset, staying in the leading pack that comprised of Bahrain's Kalkidan Gezanei, Sheila Chepkirui Mascherano, and Burundian Francine Niyonsaba. Chebet sprinted in the final 200 meters to cross the line in 14 minutes, 52.06 seconds. Bahrain's Kalkidan Gezanei took second place ahead of Sheila Chepkirui, who settled for that position. Kenya's Mercy Cherono finished fifth behind Burundian Francine Niyonsaba. Abel Kipsang won the men's 1500 meters, clocking 3 minutes, 33.99 seconds. Chelsea Mwoto took second place in a season's best time of 3 minutes, 34.56 seconds, with Moroccan Brahim Kazauzi third. In the women's 1500 meters, Edna Jebitok took third place in a time of 4 minutes, 7.53 seconds. Daria Bajasevic won the race in 4 minutes, 6.91 seconds, with Romanian Claudia Bosasea second. Poland's Patria Dobek took the men's 800 meters in 1 minute, 44.76 seconds, ahead of Collins Kipruto and Cornelius Tuwei, who completed the podium dash. Bukinabe Hills Fabrice Zango won the men's triple jump with a meeting record of 7 meters, 67 centimeters. Ivorian sprint queen Marie-José Talou took the women's 100 meters in 11.06 seconds.